The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of monitoring station Omega-7 as Captain Krell stared at the display screen with growing concern. An unknown vessel had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the neutral zone, its massive hull gleaming silver against a backdrop of distant stars. The ship was unlike anything in the Federation database, with angular lines and weapon ports that seemed to cover every surface like the scales of some great metal beast. Run a full scan on that vessel. Krell ordered his sensor operator, a young officer named Tim who had only been stationed here for 6 months. The monitoring station was usually a quiet posting, watching for pirates or lost cargo ships that wandered too close to Federation space. Nothing like this had ever appeared on their screens before. Tim's fingers danced across his console as he directed the station sensors toward the strange ship. Captain, the vessel is approximately 800 meters long and appears to be heavily armed. I'm reading energy signatures from at least 40 weapon systems, plus defensive shields that are currently offline. Krell nodded and activated the communication array. Standard Federation protocol required them to make peaceful contact with any unknown species that entered their territory. Over the centuries, this approach had led to dozens of successful first contact situations and the expansion of the Galactic Trade Federation to include over 200 different worlds and species. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Krell of Federation Monitoring Station Omega-7. Welcome to Federation space. We extend greetings of peace and friendship to your people. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. The response came faster than expected, but it was not what anyone on the station had hoped to hear. Instead of words, the alien ship's weapon systems suddenly blazed alive, energy readings spiking across every scanner on the bridge. Defensive shields snapped into place around the vessel's hull, and targeting systems began sweeping the space around the monitoring station. Captain, they're powering weapons and raising shields, Tim reported, his voice rising with alarm. All their defensive systems just went to full combat readiness. Meanwhile, aboard the human warship UES Valiant, Commander Blake stood on his own bridge watching the alien structure that had appeared on their screens. The ship had been hunting for 3 weeks, following the energy trail left by the machines that had destroyed the human colony on New Terra. 20,000 colonists had died in that attack, including Blake's younger brother and his family. "Sir, we got a large artificial structure dead ahead," reported Lieutenant Ross from the navigation station. "It's sending some kind of transmission in our direction." Blake studied the alien station through the main view screen. After the attack on New Terra, every human ship in this sector had been placed on high alert. The machines that destroyed the colony had used similar tactics, broadcasting what appeared to be peaceful messages right up until they opened fire on defenseless civilians. Analysis of the structure, Lieutenant Fox. Blake ordered his tactical officer. Fox ran her scans quickly and efficiently. The station is heavily fortified with defensive systems and appears to be some kind of monitoring post. I'm reading multiple sensor arrays pointed in our direction, and there are weapon emplacements around the outer ring. Blake's jaw tightened as he processed this information. A fortified monitoring station positioned at the edge of space, watching for approaching ships and gathering intelligence. It matched perfectly with the pattern of behavior they had observed from the machines before the attack on New Terra. "Red alert," Blake commanded. "All hands to battle stations. Raise shields and charge weapons." This looks like another one of their forward observation posts. The bridge of the Valiant transformed as warning lights bathed everything in crimson. Crew members rushed to their positions while the ship's defensive systems came online. The massive human warship had been built for one purpose: to hunt down and destroy the enemies of humanity wherever they might be found. Back on the monitoring station, Captain Krell watched in growing alarm as the alien vessel's aggressive posture became unmistakable. Every weapon system was now online and pointed directly at a station. The ship's engines were building power, positioning itself for what could only be an attack run. "Tim, get me a direct channel to Fleet Command immediately," Krell ordered, "and send out a general distress signal on all Federation frequencies. Tell them we have a hostile first contact situation developing." Tim's hands flew over his controls as he opened communication channels to the Federation fleet base 3 light years away. "Captain, I'm getting Admiral Voss on the main channel. He wants to speak with you directly." The image of Admiral Voss appeared on the main screen, his blue-scale face showing the calm expression that had made him famous throughout Federation space. Captain Krell, report your situation. Admiral, we have an unknown alien vessel at the edge of our territory. They responded to our peaceful greeting by powering weapons and raising shields. The ship appears to be preparing for an attack on this station. Voss studied the tactical display that was being transmitted from the monitoring station. How long until they reach firing range? At their current speed, approximately 12 minutes, sir. Understood. I'm dispatching the 3rd Patrol Fleet to your position. Try to maintain defensive posture and avoid any aggressive actions that might escalate the situation further. On the Valiant, Commander Blake was receiving his own reports from the sensor stations. The alien monitoring post had just sent out multiple transmissions to unknown locations, and energy readings suggested they were calling for reinforcements. Sir, the station has just broadcast on several different frequencies, Lieutenant Ross reported. The transmissions were directed toward the inner system. Blake nodded grimly. They're calling in their fleet. How long before we're in weapons range of that station? Lieutenant Fox checked her tactical display. 11 minutes at current speed, Commander. Good. That should give us enough time to analyze their defenses and plan our attack approach. I want full power to forward shields and all torpedo tubes loaded with armor-piercing warheads. The crew of the Valiant moved with practiced efficiency as they prepared for combat. Every human on board had lost friends or family in the attacks on human colonies over the past year. The machines had shown no mercy to civilians, and Blake was determined to ensure they would never again have a chance to threaten human lives. Captain Krell watched the approaching vessel with growing dread. In all his years of service with the Federation, he had never encountered a species that responded to peaceful contact with immediate preparation for battle. The standard protocols that had worked with every other species they had encountered seemed completely ineffective against these newcomers. Captain, the alien ship is accelerating toward us, Tim reported. Their weapon systems are fully charged, and they appear to be selecting targets on our station. Krell activated the general alarm throughout the monitoring station. All personnel to emergency stations. Raise defensive shields and prepare for possible combat. The monitoring station had defensive capabilities, but it was designed primarily for observation and communication rather than warfare. Against a ship as heavily armed as the approaching vessel, their chances of survival were not encouraging. Commander Blake studied the tactical display as the Valiant closed distance with the alien station. The structure was larger than he had initially thought, with multiple levels and what appeared to be docking bays for smaller vessels. If this was indeed a machine outpost, it might contain valuable intelligence about their operations and future targets. Lieutenant Fox, I want targeting solutions for their primary sensor arrays and communication systems. We need to prevent them from sending detailed information about our ship back to their main fleet. Fox worked quickly to identify the most critical systems on the alien station. Targeting solutions ready. Commander, we can disable their sensors and communications with our first salvo. Blake nodded with satisfaction. The destruction of New Terra had taught humanity that their enemies were ruthless and efficient. The only way to protect human colonies was to strike first and strike hard, eliminating threats before they could coordinate attacks on civilian populations. The distance between the two forces continued to shrink as both sides prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable battle. Neither the humans nor the Federation understood that they were about to engage in combat based on a complete misunderstanding of each other's intentions and capabilities. Captain Krell made one final attempt at peaceful communication as the alien ship approached weapons range. Unknown vessel, please respond. We do not wish to engage in hostilities. If you have grievances against the Federation, we are prepared to discuss them through diplomatic channels. Commander Blake heard the transmission, but interpreted it as another attempt at deception by the machines. The same pattern had been used at New Terra, with peaceful messages broadcast right up until the moment of attack. No response to their transmission. Blake ordered, maintain radio silence and prepare to fire on my command. The stage was set for a battle that neither side truly wanted. driven by fear and misunderstanding rather than genuine hostility. In the vast emptiness of space, two forces prepared to destroy each other, while the real enemy remained hidden in the darkness between the stars. The space around Monitoring Station Omega-7 erupted into chaos as Admiral Voss arrived with the 3rd Patrol Fleet, just as a human warship entered weapons range. The Federation fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each one sleek and elegant with curved hulls that reflected the peaceful nature of their usual missions. They had come expecting to face a single aggressive alien ship, but what they found was a situation spiraling rapidly beyond anyone's control. Admiral, the unknown vessel has ignored all our communication attempts and is maintaining an attack posture, Captain Krell reported from the monitoring station as the Federation ships took defensive positions around the structure. Admiral Voss studied the tactical display from his flagship, the FSS Harmony. The alien vessel was unlike anything in Federation records, built with harsh angles and covered in weapon ports that suggested a species bred for warfare rather than diplomacy. Have we attempted contact in all known galactic languages? Yes, sir. We broadcast in over 40 different linguistic protocols. They're either unable or unwilling to respond to our peaceful overtures. On the bridge of the UES Valiant, Commander Blake watched as more alien ships dropped out of hyperspace around the monitoring station. Each new arrival reinforced his belief that they had stumbled upon a major enemy installation. The machines were clearly calling in reinforcements to protect whatever strategic operations they were conducting from this position. Sir, I count 12 enemy vessels now surrounding the station. Lieutenant Fox reported from her tactical station. They're taking defensive positions but haven't opened fire yet. Blake activated the communication system to contact the human fleet base. This is Commander Blake aboard the Valiant to Fleet Command. We have located what appears to be a major enemy installation defended by at least 12 hostile vessels, requesting immediate reinforcement. The response came within minutes as 3 more human warships dropped out of hyperspace behind the Valiant. The UES Iron Wolf materialized first, its battle scar hull testament to previous encounters with hostile forces. Captain Torres had been hunting the machines longer than anyone else in the human fleet, and his ship bore the marks of countless battles. The second ship to arrive was the UES Storm Rider, commanded by Major Park, a former Marine who had transitioned to fleet command after losing his entire battalion in a ground assault on a machine-controlled world. His ship was smaller than the others, but packed with advanced weapon systems designed for close-range combat. The final reinforcement was the UES Relentless under Captain Nova, the youngest commander in the human fleet, but already famous for her tactical innovations. Her ship incorporated the latest human military technology, including experimental shield systems and guided torpedo launchers. Blake, this is Torres aboard the Iron Wolf. What's our tactical situation? Commander Blake transmitted the sensor data to all 3 newly arrived ships. We got a fortified enemy installation with at least 12 defending vessels. They've been trying to jam our communications with false diplomatic signals, probably buying time for more reinforcements to arrive. Captain Nova studied the tactical display on her bridge. Those ship designs don't match any of the machine vessels we've encountered before. Are we sure these are the same enemies that hit New Terra? The pattern matches perfectly, Blake replied. Monitoring station at the edge of space. Immediate call for reinforcements when discovered, and they're using the same false diplomatic broadcasts we saw before the colony attacks. Meanwhile, Admiral Voss was receiving his own reinforcement updates as 4 more Federation ships arrive in response to the escalating situation. The FSS Diplomatic Corps vessel Peaceful Dawn took position near the rear of the formation, ready to attempt more sophisticated communication protocols if needed. Admiral, we now have 17 ships in the area, reported Captain Dale from the cruiser Starlight. Should we consider this a full invasion force? Voss studied the 4 human vessels that had formed into a tight battle formation. Their aggressive positioning and the way they kept their weapons trained on Federation ships suggested a level of military coordination that impressed even the experienced admiral. These beings appear to be highly organized and disciplined. Whatever species they represent, they're clearly experienced in warfare. The tension in the space between the 2 fleets grew thicker as both sides waited for the other to make the first move. On the human side, The commanders were coordinating their attack plans through encrypted channels. I suggest we focus our initial strike on their command vessel. Captain Torres transmitted to the other human ships. Take out their coordination, and the rest of their fleet will be easy to handle. Major Park disagreed with the approach. We should hit their weapons platforms first. Disable their ability to return fire before we go after command and control. Captain Nova had a different perspective entirely. What if we're wrong about their intentions? Their formations look defensive rather than aggressive. Maybe we should try to establish communication before we start shooting. Commander Blake considered all the options before responding. The machines used the same tactics at New Terra. Defensive formations and communication attempts right up until they open fire on civilians. We can't afford to give them the first shot. On the Federation side, similar discussions were taking place as Admiral Voss consulted with his senior officers about how to handle the unprecedented situation. "Sir, perhaps we should withdraw to a safer distance and call for a full diplomatic team," suggested Captain Krell from a monitoring station. "If these beings are truly hostile, we might be provoking them by maintaining our current positions. Withdrawal might be interpreted as weakness or an invitation to pursue," replied Captain Dale. "Unknown aggressive species often view retreat as an opportunity to press their advantage." Admiral Voss weighed both options carefully. "We maintain position but continue attempts at peaceful contact. If they attack, we defend ourselves, but we don't fire first under any circumstances." The fragile standoff continued for another 10 minutes as both fleets held their positions and tried to read the intentions of their opponents. The humans saw defensive formations that matched machine tactical doctrine, while the Federation saw aggressive positioning that suggested imminent attack. The situation finally began to deteriorate when a young Federation pilot aboard the scout ship Quicksilver panicked as he noticed one of the human vessels adjusting its position. Ensign Rick had only been in space for 3 months, and the sight of the heavily armed alien ship turning its weapons in his direction triggered an automatic response. "They're targeting us," Rick called out over the communication channel as he fired a warning shot from his ship's forward pulse cannon. The energy beam streaked across space, passing well clear of any human vessel, but clearly visible to all ships in the area. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Commander Blake saw the energy discharge and interpreted it as the opening move of a coordinated attack. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Return fire immediately," Blake ordered as the Valiant's main gun swiveled toward the Federation fleet. Captain Torres needed no further encouragement as the Iron Wolf launched a full spread of torpedoes toward the Federation formation. Finally, some action. All weapons, fire at will. Major Park Storm Rider accelerated toward the Federation line, its smaller size allowing for rapid maneuvering as it closed distance for a close-range attack. "This is what we came here for. Let's show these machines what human determination looks like." Captain Nova hesitated for a crucial moment, still uncertain about the wisdom of the attack, but her training took over as Federation ships began returning fire. "All stations, combat alert. Defensive positions and return fire on designated targets only." Admiral Voss watched in horror as the space battle erupted around his fleet. "All ships, defend yourselves but try to minimize casualties. These beings may not understand our peaceful intentions." The first exchange of fire lit up the darkness of space as energy beams and torpedo explosions created a deadly light show between the two fleets. The Federation ships, designed primarily for exploration and trade protection, found themselves outgunned by the human vessels that had been built specifically for combat against a technologically advanced enemy. The U.S. Valiant's heavy cannons tore through the shields of the Federation cruiser Starlight, sending Captain Dale's ship spinning out of formation with multiple hull breaches. The FSS Harmony took a direct hit from one of Torres's torpedoes, causing significant damage to the ship's port side, but leaving Admiral Voss's command systems intact. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Captain Krell as his monitoring station's shields began to fail under concentrated fire from the Storm Rider. "These aliens fight with a level of coordination and firepower we've never encountered before." The battle that neither side had truly wanted was now in full swing, with both fleets committed to a fight that would determine not just the outcome of this encounter, but potentially the future relationship between two species that had never even learned each other's names. The space battle raged with an intensity that shocked Admiral Voss and his Federation fleet commanders, as they quickly realized they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered in their centuries of peaceful expansion across the galaxy. The human ships moved with a coordinated aggression that seemed to defy every principle of civilized warfare, employing tactics that the Federation had never seen used by any intelligent species. Commander Blake, aboard the UES Valiant, demonstrated the first of these unprecedented tactics when his ship took heavy damage from concentrated Federation fire. Instead of withdrawing to repair his vessel, as any rational commander would do, Blake ordered his helmsman to plot a direct collision course with the Federation flagship. "Sir, you're ordering us to ram the enemy command ship?" Lieutenant Ross asked in disbelief as he stared at the navigation plot Blake had indicated. "Not ram, Lieutenant. We're going to use the Valiant as a guided missile. All crew to escape pods on my mark, but maintain engine control until the last possible moment." The Federation ships watched in horror as the massive human warship accelerated directly toward Admiral Voss's flagship, the FSS Harmony. This was not the behavior of any species they had ever encountered. Even the most aggressive races in Federation history had fought to preserve their own ships and crews above all else. "Admiral, the alien command vessel is on a collision course," reported Captain Dale from his damaged cruiser. "They're not changing course or responding to our weapons fire." Admiral Voss stared at the tactical display as a human ship bore down on his position. "All ships, concentrate fire on that vessel. Stop it before it reaches us." The combined firepower of 6 Federation ships struck the Valiant simultaneously, tearing massive holes in its hull and destroying entire sections of the ship. But Blake had planned for the sacrifice, and the dying warship continued its deadly approach even as systems failed throughout the vessel. "All crew, abandon ship now," Blake ordered as he remained at a command station to guide the ship's final moments. "It's been an honor serving with all of you." The Federation ship scattered as the burning hulk of the Valiant crashed into the Harmony's forward section, causing a massive explosion that disabled the Federation flagship and sent Admiral Voss's command team scrambling to maintain control of their fleet. Meanwhile, Captain Torres aboard the Iron Wolf was demonstrating another human tactic that left the Federation forces completely unprepared. His ship had taken critical damage to its main engines and weapon systems, leaving it apparently helpless in the middle of the battle zone. The Federation ships began to ignore the crippled vessel as they focused on the remaining human threats. This was exactly what Torres had been waiting for, as he quietly launched a series of boarding pods from the Iron Wolf's hidden launch bays. The small craft were barely visible on Federation sensors, appearing as nothing more than debris from the damaged ship. "All Marine teams, you know the mission," Torres transmitted to the boarding parties as they approached their targets. "Capture their command centers and disable their weapon systems from the inside." The Federation crews were shocked when human soldiers suddenly appeared on their bridges and in their engine rooms. These beings fought with ferocity that seemed impossible, using weapons and tactics designed for close-quarter combat in confined spaces of a starship. Major Park Storm Rider was showcasing yet another aspect of human warfare that the Federation had never encountered. His smaller ship darted between the larger Federation vessels like a predator hunting in a pack, striking at weak points and withdrawing before the enemy could respond effectively. "Target their shield generators and life support systems," Park ordered his weapons officer as they made another attack run. "We don't need to destroy them completely, just make them unable to fight." The Storm Rider's precision strikes were causing more damage than the Federation tactical computers had predicted possible. Each attack was perfectly timed and aimed at the most vulnerable systems on their ships, suggesting a level of tactical analysis that impressed even Admiral Voss despite his current predicament. Captain Nova aboard the Relentless was employing the most disturbing human tactic of all from the Federation perspective. Her ship had been surrounded by 3 Federation vessels that were trying to force her surrender through coordinated fire. Instead of attempting to escape or fight her way out, Nova made a decision that would haunt Federation commanders for years to come. "All hands, prepare for emergency core overload." Nova announced her crew as she began the sequence that would turn her ship into a massive bomb. "We're going to take as many of them with us as possible." The Federation ships detected the energy buildup in the human vessel's reactor core and immediately tried to withdraw to a safe distance. But Nova had positioned her ship perfectly in the center of their formation, and the expanding energy field from the overloading reactor would engulf all 3 Federation vessels. This is Captain Nova of the U.S. Relentless to all human ships. Tell Command that we completed our mission. The enemy will not be able to use this position to threaten human colonies again. The explosion that followed vaporized the Relentless and severely damaged 2 Federation cruisers, while completely destroying a third. The Federation crews who survived the blast could hardly believe what they had witnessed. These humans had deliberately sacrificed their own ship and crew to ensure maximum damage to their enemies. Admiral Voss, now commanding his fleet from the secondary bridge of his damaged flagship, tried to make sense of the tactical situation as reports came in from his surviving ships. Captain Dale, what's our current status? Sir, we've lost 4 ships completely, and 3 more are too damaged to continue fighting. The remaining ships are reporting that they've never encountered an enemy that fights with such disregard for their own survival. The human approach to warfare was unlike anything in Federation military history. Most species fought to achieve specific objectives, while minimizing their own losses. These humans seemed to fight with a single goal of ensuring their enemy could never threaten others again, regardless of the cost of themselves. Captain Torres's boarding parties had successfully captured the engine rooms of 2 Federation ships, and his Marines were systematically disabling critical systems throughout both vessels. The Federation crews found themselves fighting desperate battles in their own corridors against enemies who seemed to know exactly where every vital system was located. Sir, the alien boarding parties are using weapons specifically designed for shipboard combat, reported Security Chief Mills from the Federation cruiser Dawn's Light. They're not trying to capture our ships intact. They're sabotaging everything they can reach. The few remaining operational Federation ships found themselves facing an impossible tactical situation. The humans had demonstrated that they would sacrifice their own vessels to destroy enemy ships, making it dangerous to close with them. But at long range, the human weapons were proving more effective than Federation defensive systems had been designed to handle. Major Park Storm Rider continued its hit-and-run attacks, now focusing on the Federation ships that were trying to rescue survivors from the damaged vessels. This targeting of rescue operations was another human tactic that violated every principle of civilized warfare as understood by the Federation. They're attacking our search and rescue ships, Captain Krell reported from his monitoring station, which had somehow survived the battle despite being one of the first targets. These beings showed no respect for the conventions of war. Admiral Voss made a decision that would later be studied in Federation military academies for decades. Rather than continue a battle that was costing both sides heavily while serving no clear strategic purpose, he ordered a general withdrawal of all Federation forces to regroup and reassess the situation. All ships, fall back to Rally Point 7. We need to understand what we're dealing with before we can formulate an effective response. The surviving Federation vessels began to withdraw from the battle zone, but the humans interpreted this movement as a tactical repositioning rather than a retreat. Commander Blake, who had managed to escape his ship before its final attack, was now aboard the Iron Wolf coordinating the human response. They're trying to regroup for another attack. Blake transmitted to his remaining ships. We can't let them consolidate their forces and call in more reinforcements. The human ships pursued the withdrawing Federation fleet, continuing to engage them even as both sides move away from the original battle site. This relentless pursuit was yet another human characteristic that the Federation had never encountered in their dealings with other species. Captain Torres, now commanding the combined human force from his damaged ship, made a tactical assessment that would prove crucial to the eventual resolution of the conflict. Something's not right about this whole situation. These aliens fight like they're trying to minimize casualties rather than maximize damage. Major Park agreed with Torres's observation as he reviewed the battle data. Their weapons are designed to disable rather than destroy, and they've been trying to rescue their own people even in the middle of combat. The realization that their enemies might not be the machines they had been hunting began to dawn on some of the human commanders. But with the battle still raging and Federation ships continuing to return fire, there was no time to fully analyze the implications of this discovery. The space around the monitoring station had become a graveyard of damaged and destroyed ships from both fleets. The battle had revealed fundamental differences in how humans and the Federation approach warfare, differences that would need to be understood before any peaceful resolution could be achieved. As both sides regrouped and prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable continuation of the conflict, neither realized that their real enemy was watching the battle from a distance, analyzing the tactics and capabilities of both species for future use. The temporary ceasefire came about by accident rather than design when both fleets found themselves too damaged to continue effective combat operations. Admiral Voss's remaining ships had withdrawn to the far side of the monitoring station to assess their casualties and attempt repairs, while the human vessels held position near the original battle site, maintaining their aggressive stance despite their own heavy losses. Dr. Kane aboard the Federation research vessel Peaceful Dawn had been monitoring the communication frequencies used by the human ships throughout the battle, and she was beginning to detect patterns in their transmissions that suggested something far more complex than simple aggressive behavior. As the Federation's leading expert in xenolinguistics, she had spent years developing systems for establishing communication with unknown species. Admiral, I'm requesting permission to attempt direct communication with the alien vessels. Dr. Kane transmitted to the damaged flagship, where Admiral Voss was coordinating the Federation response to crisis. Dr. Kane, these beings have shown no interest in peaceful communication. They responded to our initial greeting with weapons fire, and they've demonstrated combat tactics that suggest a complete disregard for civilized warfare. Dr. Kane studied the linguistic patterns she had been analyzing during the battle. Sir, I believe there may be a fundamental misunderstanding occurring here. The mathematical structure of their communications suggests a highly organized society with complex social hierarchies. This doesn't match the profile of a purely aggressive species. Meanwhile, aboard the damaged Iron Wolf, Captain Torres was having his own doubts about the nature of their enemies as he reviewed the tactical data from the battle. The alien ships had consistently targeted weapons and propulsion systems rather than life support or crew quarters, and their rescue operations had continued even under fire. Blake, take a look at this damage assessment. Torres transmitted Commander Blake, who was coordinating human operations from the Storm Rider after the loss of his own ship. These aliens have been trying to disable our ships rather than destroy them outright. Commander Blake examined the data Torres had compiled. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe these aren't the machines that hit New Terra. The attack patterns are completely different, and their tactical doctrine focuses on minimizing casualties rather than maximizing destruction. Captain Nova, who had managed to evacuate her crew before the Relentless exploded, was now aboard Major Park Storm Rider and reviewing the same information. The weapon signatures don't match anything we encountered at the colony sites either. These energy patterns are completely different from the machines we've been hunting. The growing realization among the human commanders that they might be fighting the wrong enemy was interrupted when Dr. Kane succeeded in establishing a basic communication link with the human fleet. Her breakthrough came when she recognized that the humans were using a mathematical progression in their tactical coordination signals that matched universal constants. Unknown vessels. This is Dr. Kane of the Federation Science Division. I believe we may have had a serious misunderstanding. Please respond if you can understand this transmission. The message reached the Iron Wolf just as Captain Torres was explaining his tactical analysis to the other human commanders. The timing of the alien communication seemed too convenient to be coincidental, but the tone was completely different from the aggressive postures both sides had maintained throughout the battle. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from one of the alien vessels, reported Lieutenant Sam from the communication station. The signal pattern suggests they're using some kind of translation protocol. Torres considered the situation carefully. Put it through, but maintain battle readiness. This could be another attempt at deception. Dr. Kane's voice came through the human ship speakers with remarkable clarity, considering the improvised nature of the translation system. Human vessels, I am attempting to establish peaceful communication between our species. We believe a serious error has occurred that has led to unnecessary conflict between us. The word human in the transmission caused immediate shock among the bridge crew of the Iron Wolf. These aliens knew what humans were, which meant they had encountered human ships before or had access to information about human civilization. How do you know what we are? Commander Blake asked as he took over the communication from Torres. We have been monitoring your transmissions during this engagement. Our analysis suggests that you are searching for a different enemy than the Federation forces you have been fighting. We believe you may be hunting the same mechanical entities that have been attacking our outer colonies. The revelation that these aliens had also been fighting the machines transformed the entire situation in an instant. Commander Blake felt a chill as he realized the implications of what they had been doing for the past several hours. Are you saying that you're not allied with the machines that destroyed our colony on New Terra? Dr. Kane's response carried a tone of horror that transcended the language barrier. Human Commander, the Federation has been fighting those mechanical destroyers for over 50 years. They have devastated 17 of our outer worlds and killed millions of our people. We would never ally ourselves with such entities. The communication channel fell silent as both sides processed the magnitude of the misunderstanding that had led to the destructive battle. Captain Torres was the first to break the silence with a question that would reshape the relationship between the two species. Dr. Kane, when you first contacted us at the monitoring station, what were your intentions? We were following standard Federation protocol for first contact with unknown species. We wanted to welcome you to our territory and establish peaceful diplomatic relations. When you responded by powering weapons and raising shields, we assumed you were preparing to attack our station. Commander Blake closed his eyes as the full scope of their error became clear. We interpreted your monitoring station as a forward observation post for machines. When you called in your fleet, we thought you were preparing a coordinated attack against us. The tragic irony of the situation was not lost on either side. Two species that had been fighting the same enemy for years had nearly destroyed each other based on fear and misunderstanding. The machines that both sides were hunting had not even been present during the battle. Human commanders, we need to share intelligence about our common enemy. Admiral Voss interrupted as he joined the communication channel from his damaged flagship. If we're going to prevent future incidents like this, we need to understand how the machines operate and how they've been manipulating both our species. Dr. Kane began transmitting Federation records of machine attacks to human ships, while Commander Blake ordered his tactical officers to share human intelligence about machine capabilities and behavior patterns. The exchange of information revealed disturbing similarities in the attacks both species had suffered. The machines always use the same pattern, Torres observed as he reviewed the Federation data. They establish monitoring posts to gather intelligence, then coordinate simultaneous strikes against multiple targets to maximize casualties. Major Park compared the human and Federation records. They've been playing us against each other. The timing of their attacks on our colonies coincided with increased Federation patrol activity in border regions. They wanted us to think you were the ones responsible. Captain Nova made the connection that would prove most crucial to their future cooperation. The machines have been studying both our species for decades. They know our tactical doctrines, our weapons capabilities, and our psychological responses to threats. This battle gave them valuable information about how we fight when we encounter unknown enemies. The realization that their conflict had been orchestrated by their mutual enemy created an immediate bond between the human and Federation commanders. They had both been manipulated into a battle that served only the interests of the machines they were trying to destroy. Admiral Voss, what do you propose we do about this situation? Blake asked as he surveyed the damage both fleets had inflicted on each other. First, we need to establish formal communication protocols, so this never happens again. Second, we need to coordinate our intelligence gathering to track machine movements more effectively. And third, we need to develop joint tactical doctrines that combine human aggressive capabilities with Federation defensive technologies. Dr. Kane added her own perspective to the planning. We also need to understand why the machines wanted us to fight each other. There must be a strategic advantage they gain from keeping our species in conflict rather than allowing us to cooperate. The answer to that question would come sooner than anyone expected, as long-range sensors on both human and Federation ships began detecting new contacts approaching the battle site. The energy signatures matched neither human nor Federation vessels, and the approach vector suggested a coordinated attack formation. All ships, we have multiple unknown contacts incoming, reported the sensor operator aboard the Storm Rider. Configuration matches machine attack patterns from previous encounters. The Devourers have been monitoring the battle from a safe distance analyzing the capabilities and tactics of both species. Now, they were moving to complete their strategy by destroying the weakened fleets while they were still recovering from their mutual conflict. It appears our enemy has decided to reveal themselves. Admiral Voss observed grimly as his tactical staff calculated the approaching threat. We're about to face the real enemy while both our fleets are damaged and low on ammunition. Commander Blake made a decision that would define human Federation relations for generations to come. Admiral, I propose we combine our remaining forces and face this threat together. We've learned more about fighting these machines in the last hour than either of us discovered in years of separate battles. The approaching machine fleet represented both a deadly threat and an opportunity for the two species to prove that their newfound alliance could succeed where their individual efforts had failed. The machine fleet that emerged from hyperspace consisted of 24 vessels, each one a perfect example of the cold efficiency that had terrorized both human and Federation colonies for decades. The Devourer ships were angular constructs of dark metal and pulsing energy conduits, designed with no consideration for the comfort or survival of organic crew members because they carried none. Commander Blake studied the approaching enemy formation from his position aboard the Storm Rider and made a tactical decision that would shock Admiral Voss and every Federation officer who witnessed it. Instead of coordinating a defensive strategy with their new allies, Blake ordered the remaining human ships to move directly between the machine fleet and the damaged Federation vessels. All human ships form protective screen in front of Federation forces, Blake transmitted as he positioned his damaged fleet to intercept the Devourer attack. We're going to buy them time to get their wounded to safety. Admiral Voss watched in amazement as the 3 surviving human warships moved into position to shield his retreating fleet from the approaching machines. The Iron Wolf, Storm Rider, and the heavily damaged monitoring station rescue ship that had picked up survivors from the Valiant were placing themselves in direct danger to protect former enemies they had been fighting just hours earlier. Admiral, the human vessels are taking defensive positions around our damaged ships, reported Captain Dale from his crippled cruiser. They're protecting us even though we have no formal alliance or treaty obligations. This act of selfless protection was completely outside Admiral Voss's experience with interspecies relations. Most Federation allies required extensive negotiations and mutual defense agreements before they would risk their own forces to protect others. These humans were willing to die for people they had never met and who had been shooting at them minutes earlier. Dr. Kane, open a channel to Human Commander, Voss ordered as he tried to understand the human decision-making process. Commander Blake, why are you risking your ships to protect our forces? We have no agreement that requires this sacrifice from your people. Blake's response revealed the fundamental difference between human and Federation approaches to warfare and diplomacy. Admiral, we don't protect others because of treaties or agreements. We protect them because it's the right thing to do. Those machines have killed enough innocent people on both our sides. The first exchange of fire between the combined Human Federation force and the Devourer fleet demonstrated exactly why the machines had wanted to prevent cooperation between the two species. Captain Torres aboard the Iron Wolf coordinated his ship's aggressive assault tactics with the defensive shield harmonics that Dr. Kane transmitted from the Federation research vessel. The result was a fighting capability that neither species had achieved alone. Human weapons, designed for maximum destructive impact, could now strike through Federation-enhanced targeting systems that provided precision beyond anything the machines had calculated in their tactical projections. Target their central command node. Torres called out as his weapons officer locked onto the lead Devourer ship. Federation targeting data is giving us firing solutions we never had before. The combined attack tore through the machine ship's defenses and destroyed its central processing core in a single coordinated strike. The Devourer fleet immediately began adapting to the new tactical situation, but their programming had not prepared them for the fusion of human aggression with Federation precision. Major Park Storm Rider demonstrated another aspect of the Human Federation cooperation as he used Federation shield modulation frequencies to protect his ship while conducting close-range attacks against the machine formation. The Federation defensive technologies that had been designed to minimize casualties were now enabling human ships to survive long enough to inflict maximum damage on their mutual enemy. Admiral, our shield harmonics are allowing human ships to operate in weapon ranges that would normally be suicidal, reported the Federation technical officer aboard the Peaceful Dawn. Their tactics are becoming even more effective when combined with our defensive systems. Admiral Voss began to understand why the machines had worked so hard to keep humans and Federation forces from cooperating. The combination of human willingness to sacrifice everything for victory and Federation technological sophistication created a military force that posed an existential threat to machine expansion plans. The battle continued as more Devourer ships focused their attacks on the human vessels that were protecting the Federation fleet. Commander Blake realized that the machines were trying to eliminate the human ships first, probably because they represented the most unpredictable element in the combined force. Torres, they're concentrating fire on us because we're the wild cards in their tactical calculations. We need to use that to our advantage. Captain Torres understood immediately what Blake was suggesting. If they're focused on stopping us, that gives the Federation ships time to coordinate a precision strike on their command structure. The plan required a level of trust between former enemies that would have been impossible before their shared revelation about the machine manipulation. Blake had to rely on Federation tactical coordination, while Torres made his ship a target for the entire Devourer fleet. Dr. Kane worked frantically to coordinate targeting data between the human and Federation ships as the Iron Wolf drew machine fire away from a main Federation force. Admiral, we have firing solutions on 3 Devourer command ships. The human vessels are creating the perfect tactical opening for us. Admiral Voss gave the order that would demonstrate Federation commitment to their new alliance. All ships concentrated fire on designated targets. We're not going to let those humans sacrifice themselves for nothing. The coordinated Federation strike, guided by human tactical intelligence and protected by human sacrificial maneuvering, destroyed 4 Devourer ships in simultaneous explosions that lit up the battle space. The machine fleet found itself facing an enemy that combined the best elements of both species, while eliminating the weaknesses that had made each vulnerable when fighting alone. Captain Nova, now commanding the rescue operations from the damaged monitoring station, made an observation that would become central to future human Federation military doctrine. The machines can adapt to either human tactics or Federation tactics individually, but they can't adapt fast enough when we combine both approaches in real time. The Devourer fleet began to show signs of tactical confusion as their adaptive programming struggled to counter the unpredictable fusion of human and Federation fighting styles. Machines that had been designed to learn from combat experience were encountering a situation that exceeded their analytical capabilities. Major Park Stormrider, now operating with Federation shield enhancements, conducted a series of attack runs that would have been impossible for either species alone. The ship could survive damage that would normally destroy a human vessel, while delivering precision strikes that Federation ships could never have achieved. "This is incredible," Park transmitted as his ship tore through machine defensive formations. "We're fighting like a single coordinated force instead of 2 separate fleets." The tide of battle turned decisively when Commander Blake made his final tactical decision of the engagement. Instead of continuing the conventional space battle, he ordered a coordinated ramming attack that would use Federation shield harmonics to maximize the destructive impact of human sacrifice tactics. All human ships prepare for synchronized collision courses with the remaining Devourer command vessels. Federation ships, we need your shield modulation to ensure we can reach our targets. Admiral Voss realized what the humans were proposing and immediately understood both the tactical brilliance and the terrible cost of the plan. "Dr. Kane, give them everything we have. Shield harmonics, targeting data, and defensive coordination. We're going to make sure their sacrifice counts." The final phase of the battle became a demonstration of the trust that had developed between the 2 species in just a few hours of cooperation. Federation ships provided defensive cover and targeting assistance, while human vessels conducted deliberate collision attacks against the most critical machine ships. Captain Torres guided the Iron Wolf into the heart of the Devourer formation, using Federation offensive enhancements to survive long enough to reach the enemy flagship. The resulting explosion destroyed not only his target, but created a chain reaction that eliminated 6 additional machine vessels. Major Park Stormrider, enhanced with Federation precision targeting, managed to destroy 3 Devourer ships with conventional weapons before conducting his own ramming attack against the machine fleet's tactical coordination center. The surviving Devourer ships, faced with the total destruction of their command structure and the realization that they could not adapt to combined Human Federation tactics, began a coordinated withdrawal from the battle space. Commander Blake, now the sole surviving human commander, watched from the Federation rescue ship as the machine fleet retreated. Admiral, I think we've given them something to think about. Admiral Voss surveyed the battlefield where the combined fleet had achieved a victory that neither species could have won alone. Commander, I believe we discovered something the machines never wanted us to learn. We're stronger together than either of us ever imagined possible. Dr. Kane began the process of establishing formal communication protocols that would prevent future misunderstandings between human and Federation forces. Both our species approach conflict from different perspectives, but those differences complement each other perfectly when we work together. The battle had ended with the complete destruction of the Devourer attack force and the beginning of an alliance that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The machines had succeeded in manipulating humans and Federation forces into fighting each other, but their victory had ultimately created the very cooperation they had tried to prevent. As rescue operations began, and both species worked together to save survivors from the battle, it became clear that the human approach to warfare was not based on aggression, but on protection. They had approached the Federation armed and ready, not because they wanted to fight, but because they were prepared to defend others even before they knew who those others might be. The monitoring station that had been the site of first contact between the two species became the location where formal diplomatic relations were established. The red alert that brought them together in conflict had ultimately created an alliance that would ensure the survival of both civilizations against their common enemy.